So thank you for joining us tonight for Protecting Your Identity and Assets. Tonight we are grateful to have a panel of 5 financial experts from Wintrust Community Bank. In addition to their banking products and services, Wintrust invests in and gives back to the local community. Just one way they are an asset to Wheaton residents is by providing programs to address our current needs, such as this one tonight. First, there will be a presentation on protecting your identity and other assets, and then we will open the floor for questions about security and other banking concerns. After tonight's program, we will send an email containing contact information for our panelists, as well as a PDF with additional information related to the presentation. And now I'm going to turn the mic over to Kim Coyne. Kim is Senior Vice President and Head of Retail at Wintrust. Thank you so much for being here to all of our panelists, and we'll go ahead and turn the mic over to you, Kim.
Thank you, Barry, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is new for all of us. We've not done a format like this before. Normally we do these in person in a large group, and it's very interactive. So we did take some liberties with this presentation to condense it this evening. I hope everybody can hear me okay. If not, put in the Q&A or the chat so Barry can alert me. But again, thank you. Hopefully you'll find this evening informative. Dora, Gila, Jorganis, and I will be presenting, but along the way, please feel free to pose questions to the rest of the panelists. Even though we're focused on identity theft and fraud, this evening we are open to taking any banking related questions, which is why we have our panelists joining us. So as Barry said, I'm Kim Coyne. I'm the head of retail for Wheaton Bank Trust. We're part of Wintrust, so we have over 160 community banks in Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin, and now in Florida. And you're looking at a picture of our downtown LaSalle Street headquarters. But here in Wheaton, we're located right in downtown Wheaton at 100 North Wheaton Avenue and at 370 South County Farm Road. So again, thank you for joining us. I'm going to introduce you to my co-presenter, Dora.
Thank you, Kim. My name is Dora Jorganis, and I'm the branch manager for the County Farm office. I've been there 5 years, but I'm very fortunate to be part of the Wheaton community for 20 years in the banking industry. And I am well versed being a teller, a banker, assistant branch manager, and branch manager, which puts me in a very unique position since at these different roles, I had experience with real life scenarios. So you name it, we've dealt with it, from identity theft to people trying to pass a bad check, or people pretending to be somebody else. So we do have experience with these incidents, and we're trying everything in our power to stop these individuals from being successful in their goals. So part of today's presentation is assets and risks. So I'm going to start with that. And as Kim mentioned earlier, usually we do have this in a live setting. And I love that because I'm able to interact with audience and hear their questions. So please feel free to post your questions on the Q&A option, and we'll be very happy to address those as they come.
So we're going to go ahead and introduce Kim Corey.
Good evening. How are you? My name is Kim Corey. I'm Vice President of Consumer Lending. I've been with Wintrust and Wheaton Bank for a little over 13 years now. The majority of my work centers around home equity lines of credit, bridge loans, construction loans. As long as the interest rates continue to remain low, borrowers are refinancing. Sometimes they're combining their first and second mortgages into one. And then with COVID adding about 20 million to the unemployment rate, it's not clear how many people are actually going to be able to take advantage of the opportunity of the historical low rates that we're seeing right now. For those of you who already have a home equity line of credit and are facing financial hardship due to COVID or the unemployment, I urge you to please reach out to your bank and ask them about their loan deferment policy. Many banks are allowing customers to 3 months and that's added on to the back of the loan. So please, if you have any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer that at the end of the presentation.
And that segues us into our mortgage specialist, Ken Dillenhofer. Thanks. So if you have questions for Ken on either refinancing or deferment of loan payments or how to work with your current lender, certainly put those into the chat and he's happy to answer questions this evening. And that brings me to David Farrell. And if you want to introduce yourself, Dave, and talk a little bit about conditions.
Sure. Hi, I'm Dave Farrell. I'm with Wintrust Investments. I'm a certified financial planning professional. With my clients, we implement a process called Envision. With Envision, we start with a dialogue, we create a plan, we implement the plan, we monitor the plan, and we make adjustments as we need to. This would be an instance where we've made quite a few adjustments through this market. You know, with the markets falling as much as 34% in the U.S., we've decided to do with clients is really at this point stay the course, but move towards the market. So we've moved towards industries where, you know, like a Walmart or an Amazon or you know, just anywhere where the market's flowing to. Technology, healthcare. Those are businesses that are doing well, moving away from businesses that aren't doing quite as well. So we've done rebalances in clients' portfolios with keeping in mind that the end goal, be it retirement, be it the vacation home, be it whatever it is, our goal is to get clients to where they want to be. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to you, and I'll be open to any questions for anybody at the end of the presentation. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Dave.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about assets and risks. So as I was saying earlier, usually we have this presentation in a live audience, which encourages questions. So I would start the presentation with what is an asset? And of course, since I'm the only one doing the presentation today and there's no live questions, I will just go through it. So asset is something you own that has value. And of course, an asset to you may not be the same for me. So we can certainly agree that cash is an asset. Your home is an asset, your car, and certainly your job. But your most important asset is your identity. And then what is a risk? A risk is a potential for harm. A risk is losing something of value, or for example, your home to lose its value, to go down. So that's a risk. So what the risk can be for cash? You could lose your cash. Somebody can steal it. For your home, it could be natural disaster. Your value of your home can go down. Your furniture can get damaged from water leak. For your car, you can get in an accident and that can damage the car, or somebody can steal your car, and we can certainly see that a lot, especially lately. So the question is, can we eliminate all risks? Of course we can't. But we can certainly try to reduce some of them. And some steps that we can take are to make informed choices that anticipate risks. For instance, if you're thinking, I might lose my money, or somebody can steal my money, then you can put most of your money in a financial institution, but make sure that your money is federally insured. You need to another step is to be careful with your personal information. You need to make sure that you are safeguarding your information, because what happens if you don't do that? Somebody can steal your identity and can harm your credit score. You need to know your rights and responsibilities. And what that means is you need to understand the protections that the law provides and know what to do if something does happen to you. For instance, do you know what to do if you see an unauthorized transaction on your checking account through your debit card? You know to call your banker and dispute that. Do you know what to do if somebody got a hold of your account number and wrote fraudulent checks? Do you know how to deal with that? Do you know how to dispute an electronic transfer, going through your account? So those are all risks, and it's very important that you know how to deal with them in case something does happen to you. being aware of risks to your assets prepares you to take steps to reduce those risks, right? So as I mentioned earlier, a job is an asset also. So we certainly have seen a lot lately with a lot of people losing their jobs. So you need to think about how you can provide for yourself if something happens to that. And of course, besides your job, your identity. Your identity is your biggest asset. And what is an identity? Identity is what is an identity theft? A crime that happens when someone uses a person's identifying information without authority, right? And we have certainly seen a lot of that. On that note, I'm going to pass especially under time of stress. I will tell you that common sense goes out of the window, and I can share one of my personal examples, and I'm happy that my husband is not here today. He got a call from his dad thinking that they didn't pay the electrical bill, and he was told that if he doesn't want to lose power that day, he needed to go to Western Union and pay $300. And of course, I got the call after he made the payment. So it happens to the best of us. I don't want you to feel bad if something like that ever happened to you, but it does happen to the best of us. Another one to watch out, and it's not part of our presentation, but we've encountered, and I wanted to make sure to tell you, is when you buy things from Craigslist. I had a client who actually thought she was buying a puppy. They told her to use Zelle to send some of the money. In the beginning, they didn't ask for any money until the time of the purchase. But then before they actually met, they asked her to make a payment, and she did send it through Zelle. So Zelle, as Venmo, those are payment programs that you lose the money right away. In her case, she was very lucky that she was able to get that back from the other bank, the corresponding bank. But 99% of the time, when you do use a payment system like that, Zelle or Venmo, you probably will lose the money.
Yeah, the two examples that Dora just gave are actually extremely exponentially increased since COVID-19 with families and people wanting to adopt pets. It's become increasingly a scam, and the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, has put out alerts on this. And then the other example with the utility scam, unfortunately, with COVID-19 and hardships, the criminals are posing as legitimate government or municipal agencies and utility companies such as ComEd, NICOR, City of Wheaton. So it's definitely something that they're never going to, government agency, a municipality, a utility is always going to give you time. They're never going to tell you have to act immediately or your utilities are going to be shut down. So that is one way you can stall them, or just hang up the phone and then look up the phone numbers for NICOR or ComEd. But it's amazing how much we've been seeing this the last 3 months.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, we can talk about warning signs of identity theft, but I will give you one that it's not on the list. But whatever doesn't make sense to you, it's probably not right. So if you're in doubt, please reach out to your banker and run it by them. And because we've seen so much, we are able to recognize something if it's not legitimate. For instance, somebody brought a check that he received in the mail for $3,500 because they want something. If it's too good to be true, it's not true. Or somebody was selling something and the buyer was giving them a cashier's check that it was way more than the money that they agreed upon for the purchase. So anytime that you hear something, oh, I bought something for $300, but I'm sending you $1,500, keep the $300 and then wire me or Zelle me the $1,200, that is not good. Why would somebody send you money? You know, if you didn't earn that money, or if it's not something that really makes sense. So just common sense, and reach out to your banker or run it by another person in your household for sure. So some warning signs of identity theft can be withdrawals you didn't make, missing bills and statements, merchants refusing your checks, and credit card transactions not going through. Some of the withdrawals that you didn't make, it's easy to find if you receive your statement online, and I'm a big advocate for online statements, just because of the fact that you have access to your account information way sooner than somebody that would receive their statement on paper. So imagine you have $2,000 in your account, somebody got a hold of your information, they got all the money out, you don't know until the end of the month if you have a paper statement. So make sure if you're comfortable with online banking, do that, save yourself some time. Some other warning signs, letters about accounts you didn't open. That's a big one. All of a sudden you receive a letter saying, thank you for applying for Discover, and you have no idea. So that's a definite warning sign. Emails about purchases. Even when you do receive something like that, don't click on it. Maybe it's a malicious email. Statement for credit cards you didn't have. And then, of course, debt collectors calling you about money that you owe that you had no idea about. And then very important, passwords or usernames not working. As soon as you know that something is not working for your online banking, don't hesitate to go by the bank or call your banker. If you have a good relationship with the banker, call them and see what's going on. You definitely don't want to be in a situation where your account was taken over. Some additional warning signs is unfamiliar accounts on your credit report. So that's very important that you get to see your credit report at least once a year to see what's out there. Medical bills for things you haven't done. Health records for conditions you don't have. All of those are warning signs for something that something is not right. And of course, multiple tax returns or inaccurate tax records. We've seen that a lot, especially lately. And then notification about a data breach. I know everybody was very surprised back in 2017 when we saw the Equifax data breach. And I remember one of the questions that came from a customer is, well, if I do go online, they will ask me for my social security number, and I don't want to do that. You know, it was compromised anyway. So call them. I was part of Target data breach a few years ago, and I was able to take care of that fast. But time is of an essence, so get on it right away if you think something is up. And then some of the steps to minimize identity theft. Be aware of what's going on online. We talked about the internet. Don't click on advertisements or commercials just thinking, oh, I want to check that. Just make sure that you're careful with that. And then if you have some program on your computer that runs security and scans your applications, when you try to upload an application, do that. I use that all the time. You can review your credit reports at least once every 12 months, which is very important. And I always do that. And then you can sign up for direct deposit. I love that one because you have no risk of your check being in the mail or maybe having your check on you and then lose it, and then somebody gets a hold of your check. So sign up for direct deposit if your employer offers one, and then clean up your financial trash. Don't think that, oh, nobody can get any information from my credit card statement. Of course, everybody can read that statement and know exactly what they're looking at. And then review your financial accounts regularly and carefully. Just like I said, if you do have the opportunity to do online banking, just because it's faster, you can definitely do that.
And as Dora said, with the in terms of the direct deposit, it's not just your payroll from your employer. It's if you're getting any kind of annuities, pensions, any kind of benefits. Even with with the unemployment claims, they're now starting to send out debit cards as well, and we're seeing some noise around the debit cards that are being sent out. So again, direct deposit's just a way for you to have your cash, your funds available immediately, and you know where they are, and there's no risk to them being lost or compromised or a holdup. The worst thing you want right now is a holdup in access to your cash. So direct deposit is a good way to go. And Dora had talked about the skimming earlier. The one thing I also had a skimming issue where my card had been compromised at a gas station. I now always cover before I enter my PIN number anywhere that I'm going to go, or I'll choose credit and swipe rather than put in my PIN number. So it's another way. It's you can minimize your exposure. Important documents secure. So if you don't have a safe deposit box or aren't interested in a safe deposit box at a bank, another good way for those papers that you have to keep in your house, the sensitive papers, is to have a fire resistant waterproof box or cabinet of some sort to secure those in. And then Dora gave a lot of examples of some scams, the disaster related scams, and we're all living through pretty much the disaster right now with the pandemic and coronavirus, and the criminals are taking advantage of that. I'll talk about a few more of those scams in a few moments, but it's definitely something that is on the rise. Back to you, Dora.
So if you want to go to page 18, that is how the identity theft report looks like. I'm sure it looked something similar back when you had to do it. So it's very important that you do
I didn't
fill
know
that
about
out.
this back then, so no, I didn't do this.
Thank God I don't have to deal with it so far. Hopefully I don't have to deal with it for the rest of my life, so we'll see. So it's important that you fill that out, and there's a lot of information on identitytheft.gov, which is a government website. I actually went online before, and there's tons of information there, especially with what's happening with COVID-19. So make sure that you do fill that out. And then another thing, we can go on page 19. So if you start working with one credit reporting agency, they're responsible to notify the two other ones. So start immediately working with them, and then you can place a freeze on your credit score. But then when everything is said and done, make sure that when you do apply for something new, like a car or a credit card, make sure that you release it temporarily, because we had a client that wanted to apply for a loan, and he placed a freeze on his credit. So we didn't know why he wasn't getting approved. So finally we asked him, have you placed a freeze on your credit score? And then he's like, oh yeah, I did that a few years ago. So he had to temporarily release it, and then he was able to put it back on. So place a free fraud alert on your credit reports. I believe the initial freeze is 6 months, but then you can have it extended up to 7 years, if I'm not mistaken.
And there's two different kinds of alerts. You can have a 7-year extended alert, or you could go with the 1-year alert. When it expires, you could ask for another year to be put on, and that's free as well.
And then if you're part of one of those data breach situations, for example, Experian, I know that they reach out to the people that they were impacted, and they offer that for free. So if it's the situation for you, then I would definitely take advantage of that for sure, especially if it's free. So make sure to dispute inaccurate information, and make sure to go through the report and cover everything that you see, and then check them periodically. Don't think that, okay, I did that and I'm done. No, just periodically go in and check your report. So after you fill out the report and you alert the bureaus, the credit bureaus for the fraudulent accounts, then you want to make sure that you keep copies, just like Kim did. You need to keep copies of documents related to the theft of your identity, in case you need to provide that evidence or information if you're asked to. And then if you have anybody like a collector agency that is bothering you and reaching out to you, asking you to pay that money from the fraudulent accounts, you can actually ask them to stop contacting you about that. And then you can ask to get a written information about those fraudulent accounts. They're responsible to give it to you. Anything else you want to add, Kim, on that?
You know, just you do have, as Dora said, in terms of debt collectors, you do have federal rights related to identity theft, and those are all highlighted at identitytheft.gov. You know, and you definitely for example, generally have limited liability for fraudulent debts caused by identity theft, but time is of the essence. So you want to report it right away and act quickly, especially once you become aware of it or suspect it. You don't want to wait to report it and act on it. It definitely limits your liability and reduces it. And there's a lot more information on the data breach that data breaches that Dora talked about. You can actually go to usa.gov to learn more. And they even have a search feature where you can type in your name and the state you live to see if you've been part of a data breach. I've not tried it. I'm going to try it tonight because it sounds interesting. But I did find out about that. Right.
So there is a lot of government sites that you can get information, as we mentioned earlier. One is identitytheft.gov, and another one is go to usa.gov. I did that today before we jumped on the call. And it's a ton of information, tons of information. So even if you weren't impacted, it's good to know. It's good to have that information. So if you don't have anything going on and you have some time to spare, then you can go and look for some information there. And then we talked about some of the COVID-19 scams that are on the rise. The one thing that I didn't talk about at all is those calls that we get that they say that they are from IRS. And of course that it's not only now, but before COVID, we would be getting so many calls that they would say, oh, you owe money, you know, you owe taxes. If you don't pay us, it's going to be really bad for you. So a lot of people fall for that. So just hang up. You don't have to go into that conversation. Remember that IRS will not call you if you haven't initiated the inquiry. So most of the time, if there's something wrong or if there's something that they need to reach you out for, they will send you something in the mail. They will never call. So anytime that you have to deal with any of those scams, you can report it to FTC, FTC Federal Trade Commission, and it's at ftc.gov/complaint. Any other examples that I would like to mention, because I had that happen to us. Actually, one of our clients is mail interception, where one of our clients mailed a bill for a large amount and somebody intercepted their mail. And then what they did was they actually wrote small checks. And they were pretty good because they were identical to the original check that was sent out because they made copies. They wrote small checks, so they were under that amount, so they don't bring attention to the balance on the account. So for instance, if the bill that was sent out was $6,000, they wrote small checks to go around that amount, so the customer wasn't alerted right away. So that's another thing. And I want to make sure to mention that when a teller takes a little bit longer because they're cashing a check for you, or because they're asking questions about a wire that you want to make, it's only because they are trying to protect you and your account. So remember that, and just be patient. And of course, every time that we ask you for your driver's license or state ID, it's only because we want to make sure that the customer in front of us is truly our customer and not somebody that is pretending to be our customer. Some of the other things that we've seen is some cashier's checks that they were fraudulent cashier's checks. There were some grammatical errors. The punctuation and grammar was different. And then I have to share one more example the other day in the form of a text, not only on a check, but in the form of a text, I'm sorry. My husband received a text from his online banking, not from his online banking, I'm sorry, from his bank supposedly, but there was a spelling error in that text. And I was so proud of him. He got it right away. And he said, you know, I think I'm just gonna go on my online banking and see what's going on. So he didn't click on it. He blocked it, so he doesn't receive any more text from that center. So good job yesterday.
That's a good one. Sounds funny, but we've seen them where they were using the city of Naperville on something and they spelled Naperville wrong. So grammatical errors are a really good way to pick up that you're probably dealing with a scam.
Right, right. Um, in the, I think we are almost in the last
So
page.
yeah, so Dora was given some other examples. These were just, we already talked about many of these. But again, a government agency, municipality, utility, even your bank will never ever ask you to, activate something via a link unsolicited. You can report that as a scam. Again, we'll never ask you for personal information. A legitimate organization is not going to ask you for your social security number, your password, or your other details. Don't turn any of that information over, even if it looks like the phishing, the smishing with the text message. So if you've got debit card alerts set up for, or text alerts set up for your credit card or debit card, any of that, and it looks like it's actually coming from the phone number from your bank or your credit card company, don't always trust that. If there's a link in there and you click on it and they start asking you for your information, those financial institutions will not do that. That's not how the text alerts work. So pick up the phone, call, but call the phone number on your statement, on the back of your card, on the website. Don't just call the phone number that came in. We'll never ask you for your information that way. You can also hover on a link that you get sent in an email to check out the destination. So if it looks like it's coming from the United States Postal Service and you mailed a package that week, but you don't remember giving them an email address to help you track the package, you can hover on the link without clicking on it to find out that it actually is coming from USPS.gov, or is it coming from USPS23.com, which is not going to be the United States Postal Service. We talked about the grammatical errors. There's, the generic greetings. If it's coming from your bank and they don't know who you are, chances are it's not your bank. They really don't know who you are. And we talked a lot about these instant actions. Take action right away. Your family member's sick. Your IRS tax payment is late. We're going to put you in jail. Your utilities are going to get shut off if you don't pay me right now. There should never be a sense of urgency like that from a legitimate organization. Don't respond to it, delete it, hang up the phone, hang up on robocalls are all things that you can do to protect not only your identity, but your funds, your money in your bank account. So there are a lot of resources out there right now. There's just about every day, there's a different alert coming out about a new COVID-19 related scam that's out there. So I went on the FTC website today and I was amazed by how many alerts are out there on different things. And I only pulled out a few of them. There are dozens and dozens, maybe even hundreds that are out there. So it's just nice to keep up with it. But again, if you see something that doesn't look right, don't act on it, slow down, take your time, try to investigate it. And certainly around the cures and the vaccines and the COVID tests and the antibody tests, you can go on the CDC and FDA websites to check out if those are really legitimate. Anything else you want to add kind of in closing before we go to questions, Dora?
I think we covered a lot with the time we had in our disposal. So very important, when it doesn't seem right, it's probably not right. So again, as you said a minute ago, don't panic. You have time to respond if you need to respond. And if you do have a banker that you're working with, you're better off calling them and ask them what their opinion is, or maybe even somebody you trust from your own family or your household.
Thanks,
There are ways to protect yourself and your assets. Mm-hmm.
Great. Great. Well, thank you so much. We do have a couple of questions already, so we'll want to go ahead and address those. I will say that for a couple of our panelists, your sound did go in and out a little bit while you were making your introductions. During the presentation, it was fine, just during those introductions at the beginning. So if that happens again while you're answering questions, I'll kind of raise my hand. And one thing that we have found that is helpful is if you're having sound problems, if we can turn off your video as a panelist, sometimes that gives enough bandwidth for the audio to be clear. So again, I'll kind of raise my hand and alert you to that. We just want to be sure that our questions get answered properly. One question was, how do you view your credit report? Could you kind of go over that again?
Sure. So you can go and get your report for free at www.annualcreditreport.com. There's so many other websites that you can do that. Most of the time, your own bank will probably offer it. I know your credit card company will probably offer one. So you can certainly have access to a lot of options out there, but I would definitely try that first, the annualcreditreport.com.
Right, and again, we will be sending out some information after this program tonight, a lot of additional materials, and I believe that these links and this information will be in those documents that we're sending out for people. Again, I've got one more question in the Q&A, but as our attendees are thinking about questions tonight, be sure to go ahead and open your Q&A window. We'd love to hear your questions. The next one is contributions to illegitimate charities are common with seniors. The Illinois Attorney General requires charities in Illinois to register annually. Their website lists legitimate charities. Also, local police departments recommend you file a report with them if you've been scammed. This may initiate an investigation and possible criminal charges against their perpetrator. So just some additional information about
Thank you so much.
if you do experience something like that, to go ahead and file it with the police department. And then that's great information about charities and how to check those out. There's so many people that are asking for money right now, and many of them are legitimate, but of course some are not. So that's great, good information.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. I don't know if we have additional questions. I had as you were presenting, I had a question about the credit freeze. If you could explain when and why you might do that.
Sure.
So,
Dora.
yeah, go ahead, Kim. You have personal experience.
Well, I never did a credit freeze. If you want to find out if a credit freeze is right for you, the ftc.gov website, if you go there and search credit freeze, there's some more information. But as Dora said, if you do the freeze, anytime you go to apply for something, you're going to have to remove it before you apply for it to block it. The alerts are the things that again, it's not going to block things from going through, but it'll allow the creditor to ask additional questions and do additional verification steps. So that's about the extent of what I know without going to the FTC website.
And I can add something to that. So we've seen some of the older clientele posting credit freeze because they're all set. They don't have any need to buy a new car anytime soon or a home. But it's important that you remember that you did that before you purchase something or before you apply for something. For sure. The other thing that you can definitely do is some companies, they do offer a credit monitor. I know I have that through my credit card, and anytime that there is something that is different with my credit report, they will send me a notification through the mail. They're not going to call me, but they will send me a notification through the mail and an email. So I always review it. And then what else they do is they send you a booklet. I want to say every 6 months, so it's twice a year, where you see all the accounts that are open under your name. So they show your credit cards, they show your home loan if you have one, or home equity. So it's a good way to keep an eye out and make sure that nothing else is open out there. Most of the companies do have a fee though, like a monthly fee for that. So that's up to our clientele to see if that's worth it for them.
Now, Kim, you see a lot of credit reports. Do you have anything else to add to the credit freeze or what you've seen?
Hi, can you hear me?
We can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can.
Okay, great. Yeah, we certainly see a lot of them, especially on the lending side. So a lot of the customers will forget to tell us that they have a freeze on there. But definitely, you know, in this day and age, I think that it's good that you can just go onto the websites and place the freeze yourself, so you're not having to pay for it. So in this point, I don't think that there is a need that you really have to go and pay for a lot of it, because you can go to each of the credit bureaus and place the freeze on there yourself. When we have to unlock the freeze, they'll unlock it for 24 or 48 hours. They'll put it right back on again. So it takes a simple phone call. It's very easy to do. It's very easy to get it removed if you have to. It just takes them a couple of minutes. So I think it's a great tool for everyone to use.
Okay. We have another question if we're ready to move on. There's a question about credit reports. The credit reports can be done 3 different times, since there are 3 different ones. Is that correct? That's the question.
I'll give that one to Kim too. I know you're very familiar, right, Kim?
Hi, yes. Yeah, so you can go to annualcreditreport.com and you're allowed 1 credit report. So if you want to pull up your Experian, 3 credit agencies. There's your TransUnion, your Experian, and your Equifax. They will not give you your credit score, but it will give you the information, which accounts that you have, your balances, and all that. It just won't give you your score. So I suggest that you go and maybe, you know, pull your TransUnion.
Can you repeat just those last couple sentences again, because you were cutting out?
I was saying it's good to have a report from all agencies, because different agencies report, or like our bank only, on the consumer side, we only report Experian. We don't report to the other agencies. So it's good to know what each agency is talking about you.
Okay.
So they can go to each one individually. So in the participant guide, we've got all 3 listed as well.
Great. So okay, thank you. So we'll be sending that information out. Great. And there's another question. This one is specifically for David. Can you please speak about the current market and what funds are doing well?
Oh, sure. With the market, I mean, like I said earlier, we saw that 34% drop. What we've done multiple rebalances in portfolios over the last 3 to 4 months. Rebalances, like I said, away from parts of the market that just weren't going to benefit in this type of environment to parts that were. What that would include would be growth, in particular large cap growth, like a T. Rowe Price blue chip fund. That's done well. It's very technology and healthcare focused, so that's been a benefactor of some of the things that have been going on with the COVID-19. Also on the value side, we've kind of shifted away from large cap value. We still have some exposure, but I've moved folks into convertible bonds. With convertible bonds, what they allow you to do is convert into a certain number of shares of stock if the stock hits a certain price. So that kind of gives you some of the upside of what you're seeing on the stock side, but not all the downside. And convertible bonds they've done well in this type of environment. Also in the large cap space, we've focused on really companies that are paying good dividends, are able to maintain their dividends and have strong balance sheets. So we use a fund, it's an exchange traded fund with First Trust called their Capital Strength Fund, and that's exactly what it focuses on. So those are kind of some areas that we've been adding to and transitioning towards. I do have concerns going forward. I mean, with the Dow falling from 29,000 to 18,000, we've seen quite a bit of a recovery. I think we're up between 26 and 27,000 now, so we're not quite back at the prior highs that we saw in February. But we are getting there, but it would not surprise me if we saw a bit of a correction or a pause if we don't see some progress with the fight against coronavirus. So we are positioning portfolios. We like those positions, but I'm also taking a little bit of money out of equities and allocating it to other types of bonds, very boring investments, just high quality, good good bond funds. So I hope that answers your question. So.
Great, great. Yeah, sometimes we like a little boring these days.
Absolutely.
Okay, I don't have any more questions at this point in the Q&A or in the chat. We'll give people maybe one more minute to think of questions, but I do want to be sure to thank all of you for participating tonight. Thank you so much for your time, the effort that went into putting all this together, your flexibility to letting it go virtual for the first time, and work through some of those technology issues and such. So thank you each for all of your time and being willing to do this. Again, the bank has done this at no cost to the library. We just want to provide the information to you. We will be sending a follow-up email with some materials, the contact information for each of our panelists in case you have additional questions, as well as the background information, a whole packet of things about all of the security issues, so that you'll have those links and that information that you need. Also, the recording will be put on the library's YouTube channel within a couple of days, so you could review the video or send the link to someone else. So I think I don't see any other questions come up at the moment. So again, thank you so much to our panelists, and we just want to say, take care, everybody. Stay healthy, and hopefully we'll be able to meet everyone in person very soon. But have a great evening, and thanks for joining us tonight.